Welcome everyone to our session today on Microsoft Teams best practices. As Andrew was saying, this is a very powerful tool and we do want to make sure that you're using it appropriately. It does have a lot of huge benefits and we just want to make sure that you understand what some of these best practices can be. So there is a handout, as Andrew said, in the chat. If you want to get that downloaded, you can use that to follow along. But with Microsoft Teams, what I want to start with today is talking about the user interface. And I don't know if you noticed this also, by the way, but there is a brand new icon for Microsoft Teams. So that was just released. I just did my update today and all of my new icons for the new apps have come out. But anyway, with that being said, Microsoft Teams, when you come into the application, you're going to see on the left-hand side you have a navigation pane. Kind of a first best practice when we come into this application is you want to customize things for how you want to use the application. Don't just keep the menu bar on the left-hand side with whatever comes by default. Highly recommend modifying it to work with you so that it's more efficient for you to use the program. So one of the things I do is rearrange my icons. So if you go to the left-hand side to your navigation, you can actually click and drag your icons now to move them to be in different orders. So whatever order you want things to appear, just click and drag and move them around. Also, you can add shortcuts to other applications. I personally use Microsoft Planner every single day. Therefore, I like it to be conveniently located on the menu bar. Now, I did remove it right before class so that I could show you how you could add a different app to be available on the left-hand side. Because Microsoft Teams is this application that we can use to access other applications. It's kind of like a front-end program to a lot of other applications. So if you go to the ... for view more apps, you could choose whichever app you want to add as a shortcut. I'm going to click Planner and it will automatically open the app. But the thing about that is if you want to keep it there, you really want to pin it so that it stays there, because otherwise if you go and click on something else, it's going to disappear. But if you go to the icon on the left-hand side, do a right click, you can left click on pin. Okay, then it will always be there when you come into Microsoft Teams. So that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to start with today, is really talking about having that menu bar on the left, that navigation pane, really be more efficient for you. Remove things you don't want, add things you want, arrange your icons in the order that you want them to appear. Now, besides all of that, before I dive into some communication best practices in Microsoft Teams, which is on page 2 of your handout, some of the areas that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be mentioning using the settings in Microsoft Teams. So I want to show you these settings right away so that as I talk about these other features, you'll understand the settings. So when you go to any of your Microsoft apps, each app has different settings behind the scenes. So some of the best practices are that we want to make sure that these settings are appropriate for how we use the program. So let me show you first, how do you get there? How do you get to the settings? If you go to the top right of your Teams window, so if you want to kind of follow along, if you have your Teams open, go ahead and follow along with me so you can see some of these changes that I'm going to be talking about. But if you go to the ... at the top right of the window, you can then click Settings. This will open up the settings window, giving you a menu on the left-hand side. Whatever you click from there, you'll see different choices on the right-hand side. So I have Teams as an auto start. I automatically want it to open when I log in on my computer. You can see there's a lot of different changes here. But you really want to kind of go through all of these. I'm not going to go through every single one of these today, but just so you know, scroll up and down on this list with each category. But I did want to scroll down on this general category. On the right-hand side, you even have access to your out of office. So we don't always have to go to, and the out of office here is great to schedule this so that it automatically will turn on and turn off when you want it to. Just some things to be thinking about. But anyway, back to the left-hand side, I want to talk about the appearance. You, of course, have different ways to change the appearance of what it is that you're doing, like when you do thumbs up, raise your hand, those kind of things. There's even skin tones that you can access. On the left-hand side, there is a chats and channels category as well. One of the features here that if you haven't done already, you definitely want to do this is when you look at your menu bar on the left-hand side, if you do not have Teams as an icon, that means that you would have to go to Chat to access Microsoft Teams. Microsoft made a mistake. They've admitted they've made a mistake. And for a short period of time, they combined together Chat and Teams. You had to go to Chat to get to your Teams. Well, they now have an option to separate them. That's available on this Chats and Channels category. On the right-hand side, click the icon, the little button for Separate, so that they can be back to where they should be on being separate commands on the left-hand side. Now, as you can see, there's other things that you may want to think about as well. Under this Chats and Channels, are there certain things that you want to turn on or turn off? There's the way you view things as well. Comfy, when you're doing chats in Microsoft Teams, there's a comfy level where things are spread out a little bit more, or you can have it be more compact, so they would be closer together. So just so you know, you have these kind of things. Also, do you want the latest read message or newest message when you open up that chat? Also, when you go to a channel, do you want to show the recent activities at the top of the window or at the bottom of the window? Those kind of things can be changed. Have the system work with you, not against you. So also on the left-hand side, we're going to be talking about notifications and activities. Just so you know, this is where you can go to modify the notifications that I'm going to be mentioning. Now, I won't go through these notifications with you right at this moment, but this is where once I refer to some best practices with notifications, you can come in here and make changes to them as needed. You also have access to different organizations or different accounts. I have multiple accounts that I can log into, just so you know you can manage those here. Also, we have the privacy, accessibility options, so captions and transcriptions. If you want those to be automatically turned on, you can, but I'll talk a little bit about those when we talk about Teams meetings. You also have access to your devices. You have call capabilities where you could be recording your own voicemail. Now, this is something that has changed over the past kind of year or two. Since we've had Microsoft Teams, a lot of companies are switching to have their phone systems go directly through Microsoft Teams. So you could actually be changing your voicemail, you know, especially if you're going to be out of the office. You're going to be on vacation for a week, like Matthew is right now. He's gone for a vacation right now. He could have gone into Microsoft Teams, changed his voicemail to say, you know, I'm out of the office till whatever date. You could have your voicemail be different depending on if you're in the office or versus out of the office. Just so you know, you can do that, because if somebody tries to call you through Microsoft Teams, it can automatically go to their voicemail after 20 seconds. So just so you could see, these are options you have. Also, your category on the left for files and links. How do you want your files to actually open? So when you're using Teams and you go to the Files tab, which is your SharePoint document library, do you want those files to be automatically opening in Teams, which is what they do, I should say, by default, or do you want them opening in the online app or in the desktop app? I have mine opening automatically in the desktop app, just so you know you have access to that. Also, there's app permissions and recognition. Okay. So anyway, just so you could see, I highly recommend going into your team settings so that you are really setting it up for what you want to have access to. So back to the handout on page 2. It talks about communication best practices, and I'm going to go to the chat for the first example. So when we talk about chatting in Microsoft Teams, it's important to kind of think about best practices. Why? In your handout, you can see that it's preventing overload. Without guidelines, chat can become very cluttered and very distracting. Maintain professionalism, clear rules, ensure respect and efficient communication, improving productivity, reducing miscommunication. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention. I've got some numbered lists here for you. A couple of best practices when it comes to chatting. Use chat for quick, non-formal communication. There seems to be some confusion as to, should I be sending an email or should I just be sending a chat? An email is going to be more of a formal communication, especially if it's with your coworkers. If you just have something quick you want to ask somebody or let them know about something, if they're a coworker of yours, you're better off just sending a chat. We want to make sure that we are using the right tools. Sometimes we're not, like calendar versus tasks. Sometimes we confuse when we should use one versus the other. So make sure that you are using chat when it's appropriate to be a chat. Also, we have posts in the channels, which I'll talk a little bit about those, some different etiquette or best practices with those as well. But you really want to keep it as non-formal communication when we are chatting. Also, when you are chatting with a group of people, you can actually name that group. So if I go to a previous chat, actually, I don't have a previous chat that was to a group of people. Let me actually add in other people to this chat. So let's say that I want to be chatting with multiple people at once. You can have a group chat that you do. Oops, sorry. I'm editing the name. I didn't mean to go to edit name. I meant to do a new chat. Sorry. Let me start this new chat, and I'm going to add in a couple of other people to this new chat. Oops, sorry. Fingers can't type today. So when you have a group chat, so right now I'm chatting with 2 different people. You could see that I have, of course, my type a message down at the bottom. I can see the history of the previous conversations that I've had with that group of people. But notice up at the top, it's showing the names of the people that I'm chatting with. So what if these 2 people that I'm chatting with, or the 5 people that I'm chatting with, are all part of a group that we want to give it a name to? It just makes it so much easier to understand the group. So name the group by going to the pencil icon next to the people you are chatting with. When you click on that, you can actually give the group a name. So if this is the people in my marketing department that I'm chatting with, maybe I want to name it marketing department so that I know when I look at my history of all my previous chats, I know that's a chat with the marketing department. So that's a huge best practice that I don't see enough people take advantage of. Okay. Now also, when it comes to chatting, Be careful, and this is on page 3 of your handout, be careful on using your at mentions. I have a whole section in the handout about at mentions, but sometimes we use at mentions more than needed. So if I'm chatting with just one person, so if I'm chatting with my coworker student 1, do I need to at mention that person when I'm chatting with them? Absolutely not. But I get those all the time from people. That's really not a good use of an at mention. An at mention is really used to draw attention to a person. Well, if I'm chatting with the person, they're going to get a notification that they got a new chat from me. They're already getting notified. We don't need to notify them twice to say that I also at mentioned them in the chat that I was chatting with them on. So really kind of think about that, because do they need 2 notifications? No. We get way too many notifications, which we have a section in your handout also on notifications, because sometimes we have too many notifications going around. So use at mentions appropriately. Also, keep messages concise. Long messages are not needed. When it comes to using a chat, short and sweet. Short and sweet is definitely what you want to be doing. If you start putting in, a paragraph of data, could you have condensed that? A lot of times for me, I'll actually have my co-pilot help rewrite it so that I can make it shorter, because sometimes I get a little bit too winded when I'm doing a chat. Chat is for short and sweet. Okay, so keep it simple. That's what a chat is all about. Okay. Avoid sensitive or confidential information in your chat. Chats are really where you want to communicate, but don't be putting a bunch of confidential information in there, especially if these are file related. If you have files that you want to share with somebody, they really should be in a SharePoint document library. Or if it's a file that is really just meant for, you and one person, but you're in a group chat, don't put a file in a group chat if you really don't want everybody in that group chat to have access to that file. So be very careful with confidential information. Also, do you need to respond back to a chat that somebody just gave you some information? Do you have to write back and say, thanks? No. Use an emoji instead. The emojis are there for a reason. Take advantage of the emojis. So when you have a message, like previously I had this message that came back and they said, I'll drop off the book. I didn't need to respond back to them and say thank you. Instead, hesitate on it and use the emojis. Do a like, do a heart, a smiley face, whatever. Use those types of emojis in your conversations instead. Sometimes no words are needed. Okay. Also, manage your notifications on your chats. At the bottom of page 3, just so you know where this is located, at number 7, manage notifications. Why? Too many chat alerts can interrupt focus. Muting non-critical tasks helps you stay more productive. You can actually right-click and mute. You can adjust global settings by going into the settings at the top right, like I showed you, and go into notifications. So just so you're aware, if you go to a chat on the left-hand side here and do a right-click, you have this mute option. That's what I was referring to with the mute. So if you are trying to focus on getting some tasks done, you've got some, a policy you're working on, whatever the case, you want that kind of do not disturb. If you have somebody that's been chatting back and forth with you and they're not paying attention to your availability, mute the conversation. Come back and unmute it when you're ready to receive those again. Just so you know, it's capable to do that. Okay. All these hidden great tools we have. Okay. Also, if you have chats that they've been here forever and you're not even chatting with that person anymore, you can archive or leave inactive chats. So you can keep your chats really reduced to the ones that you really need to have access to on a more regular basis. So if I have a chat, I could right click on it and I could hide it. Okay. So just so you know, if you have inactive tasks or chats you don't want to see, you can always right click and hide them. You can also leave a chat. Okay. You want to kind of get out of that conversation if you're not a part of it anymore, those kind of things. And when it comes to sending chats, at the top of page 4 of your handout, it talks about important or urgent chats. Use these appropriately. Let me show you what I mean. If I go to do a chat with a specific person, one of the first things that I'm going to do is look to see, is that person even available right now? So how do you know if somebody is available right now? Well, if I look at my student one up at the top, this is who I'm chatting with right now. I can look at their profile circle and I can see there's an X in their profile circle. That's telling me that that person isn't even active on the computer right at this moment. So why would I send a chat to them right now? Let me give you two different options with kind of helping to manage these chats. But always look at someone's profile before you send a chat. Are they busy right now? Are they available? Have they stepped away for a few minutes? Look at what their availability is. So when you come down and do your chat, a couple of things that I want to mention. So let's say that I'm going to chat with this person. I know they're not in the office right now. They're not even logged in on their computer. I'm getting the X on their profile. I'm going to say, please run the report on Friday. That's going to be the chat that I want to send to this person. On the bottom right, you have a couple of different options that you can do. One of them is if this person isn't even on their computer right now, which by the way, just so you know, I can hesitate on their profile circle and look at all the information that I'm getting. I can chat with the person. I can do a video call, audio call. I can physically call them. I can also do that from the chat at the top right. But last seen, 923 free all day. You could see that they have all these other contact information, and I can even go in to see more. So great option. Hesitate on their profile, see what's going on. But anyway, back to the chat window at the bottom. If you go to the send icon, instead of just sending this right now, right click on the send icon. You can delay the delivery of that chat. I use this all the time. If I know they're in a meeting right now and then they're going to be free in an hour, I'm going to delay this. I want to write it right now so I don't forget, but I'm going to delay the delivery for an hour. Choose the date and the time you want that chat to actually be sent. Okay? And when you hesitate on their profile, it will tell you when they're going to be available next. Also, you could go to the plus sign. Instead of doing the right click, you can click the plus sign on your icons at the bottom right. From there, you also have schedule message. But I just right click on the send icon, it's quicker. But also from here, you have set delivery options. When you go to the set delivery options, it sends standard by default, but you actually have a choice of important or urgent. If this is an important chat, mark it as important. That will give it a red exclamation mark. Let me show you what that looks like. So you could see, and on the chat itself, it's going to say important with the red exclamation mark so that you're having it stand out that this is an important chat. But there's another option there that you should use with caution. The other option from that plus sign, going into that set delivery options is this one called urgent. If you send a chat as urgent, it's going to notify them every 2 minutes for 20 minutes that you're urgently trying to get a hold of them. Every 2 minutes for 20 minutes until they answer the chat. That is a very limited feature that you should use. When we talk about best practices, sending it as a delayed chat would be an important chat would be a lot more commonly used than using this feature. But if you truly need it, you could apply it. So what's going to happen is if I mark this as urgent, you're going to see red notification notify recipient every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. It's marked as urgent. It's got the urgent in red. So if I go ahead and click send, that person's going to get notified. And by the way, you can always see in your previous chat, it's got the bell icon, the reminder icon. It's got the urgent in red at the top. Just so you know, you always have that identification that we can look back at. So we want to be thinking about best practices, and also in your handout on page 4, it talks about message etiquette. Be concise and clear with what it is that you're sending. Use app mentions thoughtfully. Respect their working hours. Acknowledge messages. Let somebody know that you received their message by giving a little, thumbs up icon. Avoid message overloads. I have a person that you're not seeing the chats, of course, in here because it's for training purposes only, but just so you know, I have someone that I chat with that they will send a chat with 2 words. And I swear I get one every 20 minutes. That is message overload. You really want to think about what you're putting in these chats. You don't want to be bothering people all day long with unnecessary chats. Okay, I'll leave it as that. Now, also at the bottom of page 4, going on to page 5, it's talking about the app mentions. App mentions can be used in a lot of different places. We can be using app mentions in a post to make sure somebody is seeing the post. We can use an app mention in a document. We can use it in an email. We can use it in a chat. I've already mentioned app mentions in a chat before. It's going to depend on what it is what's the reason you want to have them get this extra notification by using the app mention. App mention notifications will show up in their activities. They can also get an email notification depending on how their notifications are set up. But I'm not sure if you knew, but let's say that I'm in Microsoft Teams, in Teams. On the left-hand side, I'm going to go to Microsoft Teams. And let's say that I'm in a channel of one of my teams. And on the right-hand side, we have this post tab. And if I post in a channel, I'm going to click in that post in a channel on the right-hand side here. I could put in what the subject is going to be, but how many people are in this team that have access to this channel? If there's 20 people in there, there could be a lot of conversations going on in a post. So I might want to have someone, make sure that they see this post. Then I could do an @ I went to it in the title up there, but in the typing of the message itself, I could do an @ symbol and then choose who do I want to @ mention. So I just did an @ mention of student 1. There's 20 people in this team. I just want to make sure that they see this post. That would be an appropriate use of an @ mention. Also, not sure if you know this, but when you are managing a team, I'm going to right click on the name of this team. I'm going to go into this feature here called Manage Tags. If you have specific teams, and let's say that my accounting department team has 20 people in it, but there's only 3 people that are related to accounts payable. out of all 20. There's 3 people related to accounts payable. You could actually set up a tag that is an @mention group. So we could be @mentioning multiple people at once. So in this manage tags, at the top right, you would click create tag. You can then give the tag a name, and I'm going to name it AR for accounts receivable. It would have to be a unique tag name. I already have one of that name, but just so you could see. Then you would put in a description of it, and you would enter the names of the people that you want to be a part of that tag. So instead of having to individually tag people, you can have it be set up as a group. So what's going to happen then is once you put in the names of the members, because of course they have to be a member of that team, then click create down at the bottom. Now, how are you going to use it? Well, if I go to a channel and I go to the post tab and I click post in this channel, in the typing area, you could do an @ and then you could actually choose the group that you created. So if I go to AR, I could use either the AR channel where everybody that's a part of that channel can be notified, or I could actually have it be just that tag group. So just so you know, I had a channel called AR where I could be @mentioning the entire channel. Or I have my tag, which you see this little price tag looking icon, that I could be @mentioning just those people. Andrew, did we have a question come through?
Yeah, so the question is, can you create tags in private channels?
You know what? I've never tried that, but let me go to a private channel. If I go to this private channel, let me see if I can use an @mention. If I go to a post, don't have anybody showing up. Oh, who do I have as members of this? So I think I could if I had other people. I got to see who was part of it. Can't remember who's a part of this channel. Let me add student 1. I've never actually tried that. Okay, so I added student 1 to be a part of this private channel. Let me go back and see if I can @mention that person. Yes, I can. So the answer is yes. I've never tried that. Good question. So this is a private channel and you can @mention people in that channel. So @mention tags can be a more efficient way of doing things. But as you saw a minute ago, I could also be @mentioning an entire channel. So like if I'm in the general channel and I'm on the post, if I wanted to, let me go back here. If I wanted to @mention an entire channel, like the chart of accounts channel, I could do that. So you could have the name of an entire channel be in there as well. Andrew, did we have another question?
Yeah, just follow up to that one. I think they were
Yes.
asking about a tag, not just a regular @mention, like a custom tag, I believe.
Okay, so if I set up a tag for the team, so let me go back into manage my team, go into my tags. Let me create a tag for that private channel tag, just so you could see. Well, they would have to be a part of that private channel because tags aren't created just for the group or just for the channel. So tags aren't available for an individual channel. They're only available for the team itself. So if I'm in a private channel, I wouldn't be able to @mention, just to show you, I wouldn't be able to @mention a tag from the group. So let me clarify that. So the answer is going to be no, because a private channel can't have a tag used because tags are for the entire channel. I'm sorry, for the entire team. And since that's a private team, tags can't be used. But you can mention individuals. Okay, hope that helped. But since I'm here talking about posts, on page 5, I'm going to page 6, is some best practices in teams using a post. It has some similarities and some, same best practices when it comes to talking about chats, but when you are in a post, make sure you're putting in a subject of what the post is about. Use appropriate formatting. Notice there's this megaphone icon. When you start a post, it can be an announcement. So we can actually have an announcement as well. But make sure the information that you're actually putting in the post is relevant for the name of the channel. If I'm in the manager's channel and I'm not going to put a post for everybody in the manager's channel related to tax information if they have nothing to do with that. So make sure that the post that you're doing is appropriate for that specific channel. Make sure the subject line is clear so that kind of is the draw attention. It's like a subject line in an email. Okay. Use at mentions appropriately, as we've talked about. Use different formatting to help organize and have things stand out within the post. You can, of course, be doing that by going into the post. You have all these different tools that you could use for formatting, including inserting links. So lots of different options available there. But a post is a short and sweet. Short and sweet. It's not going to be, 3 paragraphs long kind of a thing. So use a post appropriately. Okay. Keep conversations growing or going, I should say, by replying to a previous post. Don't start a brand new post that is a continuation of a conversation that was already in a post. Make sure you do a reply to it instead. Use the megaphone. So even if I start a new post, if you know that this is going to be an announcement, like we have a new employee starting in that department, the AR department, I could do announcement as opposed to a standard post. So use announcements appropriately. Also take advantage of the different tools that you have at the bottom. We have different emojis. We can actually use Copilot. We have loop components. There's a plus sign similar to with your chat. You can schedule a post. So I could be working after hours or before hours. I don't normally post if people aren't even going to see it right away. I post when people are working during their working hours. So we have the ability to be able to schedule posts just like we do with chats. You can attach files. You can even set delivery options to say that this is an important post. Okay, marks it the same as it did with a chat. So a lot of different things available when it comes to posting. Hi, Andrew. Did we have another question?
I have another question. They are asking if there is a way to separate the chat and teams by default, or if every account needs to change that. I guess a global way to configure that as the default, or if that has to be per account only.
So are they referring to being an admin, and they're talking about the teams versus chat to have those be separated?
I believe so.
I think that can be set up globally.
Awesome. That's an IT or admin question.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
But I think it can be set up globally. But also, when I had mentioned earlier about when we are using the chat feature, I had mentioned to pay attention to the person's presence. Are they available right now? Are they on a do not disturb? Are they on a busy status? So anytime that you see anyone's profile circle, like you're seeing mine right now, because I'm in a team channel, you can see that I'm not available right now because I'm actually in this meeting. We need to be paying attention to those. What if yours says you're available? What if yours says you're available, but somebody just walked into your office and they said, hey, you got a minute? That usually means they want to talk with you about something, especially if they come in and you have a door and they shut the door kind of a thing. Or they say, hey, do you got a minute? Can we go to the conference room and have a chat or whatever the case would be? You don't want people disturbing you during that time. Or you could be working on an important task or an important project and you don't want to be disturbed. By default, your availability feeds off of your calendar. So use your calendar appropriately to put events on your calendar for scheduled events. But if somebody walks in my office right now and my presence says that I'm available, what I do is I go to Teams. Other places it's available as well. But if I go to my profile circle at the top right, when I'm in Teams, click on your profile circle, hesitate on availability. Mine right now says presenting. If you click on that, you have a menu. If you want to appear away, you want to be right back, you want to say do not disturb, you want to say busy, or you want to say available, change it. Because we want people to be looking at that to know, oh, should I send a chat? Should I call them right now? I don't know how many times I'll go to call somebody and sometimes I forget to look. I'm making it a huge habit of mine to look to see their availability right now because otherwise I could be calling them when they're away from their desk for a minute or they're not even logged in. Why call them? Leave a voicemail message. Wait until they're available. So just so you know, when you go to your profile, you have access to changing that. Also, the working remotely. Mine says working remotely. I can actually change to say, oh, today I'm actually going to be in the office. Although normally this is my remote work day, today I'm actually working in the office. So people see that when they're looking at your availability. Also set a status message. So if I say that be back in a minute, I could say be back in 15 minutes when to get coffee, whatever the case might be, just so you know you can automatically use those types of features. I think those are great options to consider. At the bottom of page 7, it also talks about respect Microsoft Teams etiquette when people are on a do not disturb. You know, when it comes to do not disturb, don't disturb them. Some things will not go through when they are on a do not disturb. But the big thing is don't call them. You know, watch that presence. That presence is being used for a reason. But don't call them on their cell phone. If you see that they're actually, busy or whatever, they're out of the office or their do not disturb is turned on, make sure that you're taking advantage of that. I shouldn't say advantage of it. You're using that as really a notification to you to say, hey, I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to delay the delivery. Okay. Just so you kind of think about those kind of things. Also on page 8, it talks about choose the right communication mode. Andrew, did we have a question? I'll
We
get to
do have
that
a
here
question.
quick. Great.
Sure. This question is, I'm a participant in Teams on client accounts as well as our own account, and it's cumbersome to switch between accounts as conversations progress. What's the best way to manage concurrent conversations on multiple accounts?
Well, unfortunately, you do have to be in the right account to be able to manage that account. I have multiple accounts as well, and I get notifications from all those accounts. And you can always, so if you get that banner notification that pops up at the bottom, you can always click on it to reply to a chat that came from a different account. So you will still get the notifications from your multiple accounts. But when you want to, actively be working in that account, you do need to switch back to that other account. Okay. Hope that helped. But back to choosing the right communication mode, Chats are for one thing, emails are for another, posts are for something totally different. Make sure you're using the appropriate option. No matter which one you're using, always keep the messages clear and professional to a point, depending on who you're chatting with. Sometimes if I'm chatting with a coworker and it's more of a casual chat, I'm not going to keep it professional, but just some things to think of. Also on page 8, Teams meetings best practices. When you create a new meeting, so if I go to the calendar here in Teams and I go to create a new meeting, let's say that I want to create a meeting for 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I'm going to be inviting other people to this meeting. Lots of other people are going to be invited. Sorry. Let me maximize this window so you could see this a little bit better here. But let's say that we're going to be doing a department meeting, and I want to invite everybody in the department, whatever the case might be. Make sure that if there is an agenda, attach the agenda. Let people know why are they being invited to this meeting. So in the typing area, this is the reason for the meeting. Make sure you're putting that in there. Down at the bottom, add an agenda. You have a built-in tool directly for tracking the agenda, tracking the meeting notes, and being able to put in follow-up tasks. So we can even be assigning tasks to people before, during, and after the meeting. This information can be filled out. I don't usually do, of course, the meeting notes and the follow-up tasks until during or after the meeting, but this is available to everybody that's a part of the meeting. Use these features. There's absolutely no reason why we need to have a separate agenda, a separate place to do our meeting notes. This way we are keeping everything into one place. Also, when it comes to etiquette, make sure that you're starting and ending the meeting on time. If you go 15 minutes over when you are supposed to be done, like let's say we're supposed to be done at 2 p.m. If you know you're going to go long, close out with the other people. Let those other people know, okay, if anybody has any follow-up questions or anything, we'll go ahead and stay on the meeting. But otherwise, I want to respect your time and, we'll end the regular meeting. Just so you know, because people have back-to-back meetings all the time. So try and start and end on time and stick to your agenda. Make sure that if you are having people set up your meeting, so let me show you what I mean by this. Set up your meeting before you actually do the meeting. You can actually set up your meeting options. I'm just going to, moved it to my other screen here. You want to set up meeting options so that you can make sure that the meeting is set up the way that you want it to be. So I'm going to turn on this to be a Teams meeting. I'm going to say I want this to be a Teams meeting. Now, take advantage of finding the availability for each person based on the day and the time that you're actually looking for, because you could see on the right-hand side that student 1 isn't available for the time period. It says everybody is available, but they're actually not on their computer right now. But just so you know, take advantage of using that find time. You want to get things set up as much as you can. At the top on the menu, there's an icon here called Meeting Options. Set up the meeting before the meeting. You could see that there's participation, there's recording. Do you want people to be able to use their cameras? Do you want them to be able to use Q&A, those kind of things? Do you want it to record as soon as you start the meeting? All of these things can be set up before you actually do the meeting, so you're not fumbling around once you do start the meeting. It's ready to go. You're already in the meeting and you're ready to go, okay? If you are recording, let people know you are recording. Big pet peeve of mine. Didn't know that was being recorded. I asked some questions and I didn't really want them to be part of the recording, those kind of things. Also, use live captions and transcripts. Those are great features under the more actions that you can be turning on live captions if need be. You can be enabling transcripts. We also have some other new features that have been added recently, but Another day for those. Use breakout rooms. Use the different tools that you have available. But before you join a meeting, when you go in and you say join first, you get the opportunity to do your video, make sure your background is correct. I don't know how many times I've had people join and there's stuff in their background that, it was a whiteboard with confidential information on it. You need to blur out or choose the appropriate background instead of your true background. Make sure that your audio is connected correctly. You can test those kind of things before you join. Do those little things to make it a smoother transition when you're actually in the meeting itself. Share files as needed when you're in the meeting. Lots of different things with that. But meeting etiquette, be punctual. If you're invited to a meeting, join the meeting on time. Okay? Mute if you're not speaking. Otherwise, people will hear the background noises. If somebody walks in your office and is talking, it's just a courtesy. Okay? Of course, turn your cameras on if somebody is talking to you. It's just a courtesy kind of a thing. Having cameras on is a good idea when you're doing a meeting with a group. Use them appropriately. But stay engaged with the meeting as well. If you have a question, raise your hand, use the chat, whatever they would be preferring that you use. Follow the agenda. If you're the facilitator of the meeting, follow the agenda. Stick to those time limits and don't get off topic or don't let somebody else get off topic with it. Okay? So lots of different things when it comes to doing meetings. Now, because of our short period of time that we have left here, I also wanted to mention notifications. But before I do that, Andrew, let me go ahead and get your question. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm not all here today. Is it possible to have multiple concurrent versions of Teams open at the same time for different profiles? I suggested it could be done in different browser profiles or tabs with the web version, but I don't think there's a native way to do that.
Yeah, it would only be in the web version you could do that because then you can have the different tabs, but you can't do that desktop-wise. Yeah, I've done that before. I got to tell you, though, some things don't work very well when you do that. There could be a lot of confusion. But yes, you could. The answer is yes.
Thank you.
But when it comes to notification best practices, as I mentioned before, go to your settings, choose the notifications that you want to use. How do you want to be notified? If you don't want to be getting a banner notification every time you get a chat message, turn those kind of things off. It's up to you personally to turn things on and off. Also, you could go to a channel, do a right click on a channel and go into channel notifications. Notify me for all new posts. Do you want to get a banner notification? Do you want to get just an activity notification on your activities tab? How do you want to be notified for activity going on within the channels? If that's a channel that I'm using all the time, I'm going to want notifications. I'm going to want to have that turned on. By the way, get yourself familiar with what your choices are. If you're in Microsoft Teams, in a team, in a channel, right-click the name of the channel. See what your choices are. Okay? Hide channels that you're not actively using to make it easier to get to the channels that you use on a very regular basis. You can also archive channels, just so you're aware. Also, when it comes to different settings, mobile versions of Teams also have a set quiet hours. Not available yet on the desktop version, but that's at the bottom of page 10 going to page 11. Okay. Make sure your meeting notifications are appropriate for what notifications you want. Make sure also that you are changing your work days and times. So in your settings at the top right when we were talking about those, make sure that those are set up appropriately. There was a category called calendar. You can choose what your working days and working times are. I do have step-by-step instructions on how to manage your notifications. Make sure you do those because Those are seriously some great best practice tools you could be using. So, in a nutshell, to kind of bring this all back to focus here, think about things before you do them. When it comes to a chat, it's a short conversation. It is not a novel. If you have a lot of things that you want to say, an email may be more appropriate than a chat. Use the appropriate tools in each of them. Do that right click, do the plus sign to go into your menu. Delay delivery on things. If people are not available, don't bother them. If you know they're not even in the office, why send it? Wait till they are available to send it. Okay. Think about when you go to join a meeting. Make sure you're joining on time or you're starting a meeting on time. If you're the facilitator, make sure your background is appropriate. Make sure that your volume is appropriate. Mute yourself when you are not speaking. Turn your camera on when it's appropriate. Do these things and you're going to really have good participation with the communication that you are doing in Microsoft Teams. It just makes it a much funner experience in this application. Okay, so Andrew, I'm going to send it back to you.